And welcome to episode 100 and whoa, it's not 138, it's 143 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast. I'm Chris, and joining me is Shane. We are amateur astronomers who love looking up at the nighttime sky and not editing podcast notes. And this podcast is for anyone else who likes going out and observing under the stars. So this one is just a quick update that I'm recording between dark sky trips. How have you been, Shane?
Living vicariously through you and Mike for dark sky trips. I wasn't able to get down to Grasslands due to some unforeseen work commitments, I guess, that popped up. So I wasn't able to get away when I wanted to. But you guys had some observing, which I really want to hear about. So you guys went down there, what was it, for 2 nights?
Yeah, we did 2 nights in the grasslands, and then I came back and I crashed for a day, and then I went out and did a couple nights at my dark sky site, did some observing out there, and then heading back to grasslands tomorrow, which is, I kind of don't know whether I'm coming or going. And I was listening to the radio and they were saying, like, on the Friday panel for something or other, and I'm like, why are they giving that today? And my wife's like, tomorrow's Friday. I'm like, oh.
Are you on vacation right now then?
Vacation is that's a loose term, I suppose. But yes, I'm not working at my regular job, doing some other stuff, which is more occupying, I guess, in many ways than my regular job.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess some good news though is that our smoke is finally dissipated. It's gone.
Yeah.
So we are actually seeing some stars in the sky. We're seeing blue sky during the day, which is a unique thing.
Yeah. We were observing last Friday, and we had some cloud and plenty of smoke, and then and it's mostly smoke like in the sky, just so people are aware. Like I think Trevor, and we'll mention a little bit more about him later, but Trevor was mentioning just over in Brandon, which is about 400 kilometers to our east, they had smoke at ground level, and really feel for people that are in that situation, because really for us, for the most part, we've just had smoke higher up in the skies, like many people in North America. It only ventured down to ground level, I think, for the odd day here and there. But anyhow, so we had smoke in the upper atmosphere, some clouds, and we were doing a public event and set up some telescopes. I did a couple talks, took folks up, and we poked around the sky a little bit, and then the clouds slowly left, and just as kind of people were starting to leave, and they were able to get some views of Jupiter and Saturn. So that was cool. But the next night looked even better, and it was the smoke totally cleared out, or like 90% of it did anyway. And then we did have some clouds poke around, so it wasn't too bad. It was kind of annoying because you sort of start observing something, and then some cloud would come over it. But yeah, all told, doing the stuff with Parks Canada staff and Mike and I, we ended up with about 60 or 70 people out over a couple nights, I think. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the skies down there are just so great. And the neat thing too is it often is good conditions. If you take away the smoke, there's so many times we go down there and it just seems to clear off most evenings, and you end up with some really good observing conditions.
Yeah, we were chatting about that there. I was trying to convince people the first night to hang around for a bit, because it does tend to clear out. And when we first went up, we could see maybe 5 or 6 stars, and that was it. And then by the time it was truly dark, 10:30, 10:45, we could probably see no more stars than I can see from my backyard here in the city. But you could see them, and it is dark. You can kind of punch through it a little bit, but we couldn't see any deep sky objects or anything. But that second night, with the Milky Way views that you can see from there was spectacular.
Mm-hmm. So which telescope did you end up taking?
Well, I took a telescope, but I didn't bother setting it up. It wasn't necessary. It was kind of funny. So with COVID, so doing some work with the Parks Canada, which is an extension of the Canadian government, and they have a lot of protocols. And so when I was doing stuff with them, I was, as I probably would have been anyway, like wearing a mask and distancing, and doing what we can to be safe. I'm just there for the weekend kind of thing, but but the people that work there all the time, they're really kind of dealing with a lot of contacts over a prolonged period of time, and certainly hats off to them for doing that, and they do an excellent job. So I was like, yeah, whatever you guys are doing, I'm just gonna follow right along behind you, right? So we did that, but they set up their scopes and had people looking through them. And then that night and the next night, I mostly did sky tours. And Saturday I was going to set up, but then something happened, and I just didn't have the time to do it. Mike set up his scope, and people the second night weren't as interested in looking through telescopes. They really just wanted to see the Milky Way. So
really?
I gave them, so I ended up giving them a few tours of the Milky Way until about 11:15 at night. So, and by that time I was just like, you know what, Mike's got his 12-inch setup. I'm just going to look through that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So what were some of the highlights that you guys looked at through the 12-inch?
Yeah, we looked at quite a bit. Like we looked at the swan, and we could really see like the little stars and sort of the clouds in and around the neck area. And we looked at let's see, Barnard's E. We looked at a whole pile of different stuff. A lot of the open clusters down in that area of sky. Looked at M22. It was getting late. I was pretty tired. I was pretty bagged. So, but I spent a long time just looking at the Milky Way, because just the detail that you can kind of trace out there. And I was able to trace out like the dark horse for the public.
And they were able to pull, or they were able to see it.
Oh yeah, no problem. They were like, "What's the big deal?" Right? And I'm like, "This is awesome. So dark here. You guys have no idea." But it was cool. Like, I mean, nobody left that experience having not seen the Milky Way, and at least at Cortland, because I kind of quizzed them on what they were seeing when I was kind of pointing out the dark horse, and they seemed to see it. So it was, when people are readily seeing the dark horse super easy, and kind of wondering what the big deal is, then that truly is pretty much a pristine site. And you could even see like the different textures in the different star clouds of the Milky Way. And you could see like the chain of stars that goes up to M11 up in the Scutum star cloud, and different things like that. So it was just fun just to kind of scan binoculars through, and kind of took people on a bit of a binocular tour too. And just kind of panned around quite a bit. So yeah, it was so cool. Like, I just love looking at the Milky Way from down there. It's spectacular. And it was the area going into like off Yucas, and then that bulge in and around like the dark horse. I'm not going to say it was as bright as like the Milky Way is from my reasonably dark site, but just the detail really is really weird, because usually you see the Milky Way and you can sort of see some defining characteristics. It kind of looks like clumpy clouds, but when you're looking at it down there, you can kind of trace out like different rifts between the clouds. Like they really do look like sort of these separate clouds. And things like M8, M21, 22, super obvious. Like anybody, again, I can point this out. Anybody can see them. Like, it's not like any of this stuff is threshold or anything like that at all. And yeah, it just amazing. Yeah, pretty good time.
Yeah. Like down there, and really like any really good dark site, particularly if you have good to great transparency, I find the Milky Way, like even naked eye, to be almost photographic. And I don't want to mislead people. Like, the brightness is not there. Like, you see it kind of glowing in a photograph. But what I mean is like you're talking about some of this detail, like between the rifts and the textures, and you get so many fine details just visually from a real dark site, that like it has some of those photographic characteristics that I think most people that have, or I shouldn't say most people, that's a big generalization, but, a lot of folks that maybe have seen the Milky Way under moderately dark skies, would think you can't see any kind of that detail without, a photograph, long exposure type of thing. But, you get under these fairly rare, but, really dark skies. It's just incredible what they reveal. It's a wonderland up there.
Yeah, it really is quite spectacular. Yeah, and then last night I had a pretty good session. Just me and the deer and the coyotes, and mostly coyotes last night and deer this morning, rushing off to work, I assume.
Yeah,
saw lots of Perseids. Poked around the sky with my 60 millimeter and my binoculars, and so from my reasonably dark sight, I can just see the pipe. Part of the dark horse. It's there. I don't think most people would be able to see it if I pointed it out. I don't think I can really see the rest of it. That was about as faint or as difficult. I guess it's not a bright object. It's just a dark object. That was sort of as good as the sky can reveal there, I think. But I was able to get M55, the big globular there, southeast of the handle of Sagittarius's teapot.
You like naked eye, you were able to get that?
No, just with binoculars. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that was with binoculars. I see the dark pipe nebula naked eye and with binoculars, and then barely M55. Yeah, that would be a good sight.
Which binos? Your 7x35s?
Just my 7x35s, and took a long look at Kemble's Cascade. Could see that naked eye. That was pretty easy, and binoculars, yeah. And M31 is pretty easy naked eye, and took a look at M33 and binoculars in the telescope. Pretty easy to see that, even though it was pretty low. Only, I don't know, from there it's 10 degrees up. It's probably more like closer to 20 degrees up. But worked through all the usual nebulas and clusters from M8, M21, 22, Eagle Nebula and Swan Nebula, star clouds, and, Scutum star cloud, and M11, the Wild Duck cluster, and, all the way up to like Altair and Terra Z and Barnard's E. Region. Took a long look at M13 and M51 as well. Saw tons of meteors. Saw a really, really bright meteor come in straight overhead and straight down. So got getting some observing, and finally, so I got 3 nights in this past week, and pretty long sessions too, like I guess 3 hours each time. Last night I did an hour on the planets, and then just as it was getting dark, I think I sent you a photo.
Yeah, it was kind of twilight time frame there. Some belt of Venus was appearing.
Yeah, you could see the belt of Venus, and looked at the moon for a while, and we could see all kinds of like little craters, little craterlets all over the moon, like little black dots all over it. And then there was a lot of flies around too, but they weren't the flies. I don't know what these flies were, but there's all these flies.
Huh. Cool. Well, and you mentioned Kemble's Cascade, and I just want to key in on that for a minute, because that's one of my favorite clusters to look at in the sky. Yeah. Because it's so unique. Like, it's a straight line of like fairly bright stars that kind of, connects or almost flows into a real tight open cluster, NGC 1502 at the end.
Right.
But, through a telescope that, well, really any telescope will show it quite well, but my 120 millimeter refractor, that's the heck is that now? F7, I think it is 7-ish, 7.5. I can fit the entire cluster, like Kemble's Cascade, with NGC 1502 in the field of view, and it has enough aperture, but yet a wide enough field that it's just an outstanding view. I love it. And, there's a little bit of a connection to Kemble and this part of the world. Kemble was a fairly, I think well-known and regarded amateur astronomer during his day. Yeah. And he did a lot of his observing about, 15 minutes away from my house in the Lumsden Valley, which is just outside of our city. And anyway, he ended up having this asterism. I think it's classified as an asterism, isn't it? Kemble's Cascade? Yeah. Yep. Anyway, he ended up having this named after him. And if you've never looked at Kemble's Cascade, check it out. It's up by Cassiopeia, and it's a real cool thing.
It's up in Camelopardalis,
Right. Yeah.
which
My
is
bad.
not the northern camel. It's the northern giraffe.
Well, there we
Yeah.
go. Now we've cleared up the giraffe.
Yeah. Sort of just a funny footnote to that is I actually drive by the old site of his observatory on my way to my place.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm about not even quite twice the distance, but anyway, just sort of continuing on in that general direction. Just because it is like probably one of the darker regions to go to that still has reasonable places to go at night. So yeah, it's pretty decent up that way still. I think probably it would be pretty bright from where he would have been now, but
Yeah. It's changed a lot since then, and it wouldn't be as ideal of an observing spot now. It's still darker than my backyard, but definitely probably not what it was like. I'm trying to think when he would have done a lot of that.
in the
70s, 80s, yeah,
something like that. Yeah, maybe 90s even. But yeah, that's where his observatory was. That's my worst part of the sky.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
So
yeah.
So,
Well, that's cool. I didn't get any observing in, but with vacation coming up here, I'm expecting, if the skies cooperate, I'm hoping to get a lot of planetary and lunar observing done at night, and maybe some solar observing during the day if everything cooperates. But
you should come out with me, and because we can set up and leave the scopes up, and now that I got that bit of work done, hopefully finish up tomorrow. Don't have to worry about anybody raising any dust or anything like that, and should be good to get another scope up on the hill. Looks like a pretty cool shot, with the scope set up on the hill like that.
Yeah, it was kind of neat, the telescope. So for all of the listeners, the photo that Chris sent is, again, it's at twilight. You got kind of the belt of Venus forming, which is that purplish color in the sky, purplish kind of pink, and that's the Earth's shadow being cast up onto the atmosphere. And then he had his telescope on a tripod, but it was silhouetted against the brighter sky, so it looked pretty cool. Like, it's kind of those quintessential astronomer telescope shots where you just have it silhouetted against just a brighter part of the sky. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's pretty. It looks pretty good even there in person. So yeah, and I found just the right spot so that I can block. There's a few lights about 4 kilometers away, 5 kilometers away, and kind of figured out the right spot that can block them. So we had an email from Bill, or I had an email from Bill, who sent us a link about those filter goggles. So I was really hoping you'd pick up a pair of these filter. I think they're like welder goggles, but you can slap filters in. I think those should be in your style wardrobe for back to work.
Yeah, I don't know about those. So yeah, they're basically like you're right, like welder goggles, but you can attach or screw in 2-inch filters over each eye, and then you would have filtered naked eye viewing. But like how much, like, what could you really see? Like, I know that there are some objects that would jump out, and maybe more dark nebula than anything. I don't know how useful they would be or practical. In terms of the amount of times I would use them, with the investment of like having to double up my 2-inch filter collection. I don't know. Are you going for it?
I think it's the best $49 you could ever spend.
Well, for sure, that part of it isn't too bad. It's the extra $300 for another UHC filter that has me a little bothered.
You need to make the right friends. I think Bill, just by sheer coincidence, ended up with some very similar filters through another acquisition that he was making. I think he was buying a little one of the 4-inch teleview refractors. Anyway, and so then he came across this. I think it's pretty cool. Like I would definitely like to try it out or have somebody else take the plunge first. But I would think that something like a pretty broadband or a wideband UHC or UHC-S, like one of the Celestron or Beta ones, I think those would work really good in it. I would think so. But yeah, I think they can flip up and down. I don't have the link here, but
Yeah, you can flip the filters up so that you can see and not, break your neck tripping over something while you're
yeah,
walking.
yeah. So
Um,
chair is another accessory you'll need.
yeah. If I had binoculars that would accept 2-inch filters, then there's sort of another use case to having them. But I don't have any binoculars like that, so I just don't see this happening for me.
Yeah, I could see getting something like that eventually. I think it's pretty cool, but yeah, I don't know. Like you said, that the other cost of the other filter, but anyway, I think Bill's going to get them, and I hope he reports back.
Yeah, or
Yeah, I
or
think
or if any listeners have bought these things and used them, let us know what you think, because there is some curiosity there for sure on my part.
yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. And then I promised I'd give a shout out to Trevor.
Yeah. Why don't you go through that email? That was a pretty cool email.
Yeah, so we heard from Trevor, who I don't know if he's an RAC member, but he is I think one of the founding members of the Brandon and Area Astronomical Society, and they were working with the Winnipeg RASC, Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. So these two organizations were working together at Spruce Woods Provincial Park over the past weekend, and they had some good public crowds out, did some solar viewing and that sort of stuff. And he was telling us that he and a few others who volunteered with the Brandon University Astronomical Observatory have sort of come together to form this group called the Brandon and Area Astronomical Society. Started in 2015, kind of held back a little, for the COVID pandemic, but they're up and running. And he said, yeah, would you mind doing a shout out in case anybody out there listening is in the general area? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, that's awesome. Yeah, I think we're happy to put shouts out and raise awareness to anybody's astronomy club endeavors. It's so hard. I know what it's like. You and I have both been astronomy center and club presidents and that sort of thing. And it is difficult to kind of get your word out, your message out. So yeah, if anybody wants us to do those kind of shout outs, we are happy to do it. And good work to Trevor and the folks over in Brandon. That's actually probably, other than our own local center and Saskatoon, that would be like the next closest astronomy group, I think, to us.
Yeah, you're right. I never even thought of that, but for sure it would be. And yeah, kudos to Trevor and the folks for making that club happen. Sometimes that can be a bit of a thankless job, and you sometimes put in a lot of hours, but the reward is you get to just meet a lot of astronomers and have a lot of good observing and form a bit of a community around the hobby, which is a real rewarding thing to do. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I should have said only if you come down and go to observing with us in the grasslands. I kind of mentioned, like, you guys should come down and go observing with us in the grass, because it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is
to go and do these events. Like they were at Spruce Woods Provincial Park doing a big public event. And we were down in the grasslands same weekend, and I ran into an individual that I had run into, I think, just the year of the pandemic, or the year prior to the pandemic, I guess. And hadn't reconnected, and that individual had gone out and bought a 10-inch Dob, and so it's great. I think they're gonna come down and join me this weekend, because I'm kind of looking for an extra telescope to kind of help out with the event. And it's great to do these events and to meet people and to go observing with them. People that you would otherwise never have met. And I think this person's just getting going, but I bet you they're able to see some great stuff with a 10-inch telescope from the grasslands.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That would be that would be quite the tool. Like even our 2x42 binoculars do a fantastic job down there. So, anything under a dark sky, pretty hard to beat that.
And I think we heard from Eric as well.
Yeah.
Who's a listener and somebody who corresponds with us. He's out of Calgary, and I think anyway, I could be wrong there. And I think we're going to try to meet up in the grasslands in October.
Yeah, for Canadian Thanksgiving, which I think is like the second weekend of October. The weather at that time of the year can be a little unpredictable, particularly.
Never. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Particularly on like the overnight low side.
Yeah.
So we'll have to watch, the forecast. I think West Block is a little warmer than we're. So you, like, for the listeners, Chris and I tried a Canadian Thanksgiving observing session a couple years ago, and we went to the East Block of Grasslands, and things got pretty chilly pretty quick, and it was a lot colder than the forecast. But I think West Block typically stays a little warmer, and I feel like their forecasting is a little more accurate there.
Forecast at nighttime low, -3, actual nighttime low, -20 with the wind chill. It actually went to -12, and then it was windy.
Yeah, so it was really windy.
We left.
Yeah,
went home like sane people. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, that was nuts. So yeah, hopefully we can make that Thanksgiving weekend work. Well, not we, but more so the weather.
Yeah, and if it is, one thing we can do there, and I'm going to see if I can arrange it. I did this once before, and no promises, especially with all the COVID business. Is to see if I can get under the good graces of the stuff that we've done over the years with Parks Canada. And if it does look like it is going to be cold, to ask very nicely and see if maybe they'll come out and light a fire for us inside in the wood burning stove. They did that before, and it was phenomenal to have a warm room, when you're 400 kilometers out in the, wilderness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when it gets chilly, having a little spot to warm up really can extend your session. It doesn't keep you going all night, because at some point, at least with me, the cold just takes over, and it's time to get in a sleeping bag, and there's really no other option. But up until that point, a little bit of warm up, in a sort of a shelter or some kind of shack, can add another hour or two onto the night.
Yeah, we had the bison come down for a visit. About 180 of them, and they're in what's called their rutting season, or their procreative phase, and they make a lot of noise. They kind of sound like monsters in the dark. And the first night, I was just telling one of our friends, Veronica, she was there, and I was telling her about having sort of slept through this once before, and I kind of had some strange dreams. And then I got back to my tent. I was like, is that somebody snoring, or what is that? And I was like, oh, I think they were far away. But then the next night, they were just on the other side of the hill. And I was actually worried I wouldn't be able to sleep because they were so loud. But I did get to sleep. But yeah, they're pretty loud. I'm not going to try to recreate the sounds that rutting bison make.
Thank you.
Because we appreciate our viewers too much, and our listeners. And yeah, it was interesting. They were like wallowing in the dirt in the next like field over from us when we were setting up the scopes, and we could see them. There's like 180 bison, and these are plains bison, not your little bison that are a little bit bigger than a cow. These things, I think they said there were 6 tons each, or something like that. I think that's what they said. And somebody said, well, it's a good thing you're camped. So I had camped in behind the bison fence. And I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of realized that fence is just the illusion of safety, though, because, the first 7 or 8 bison might get hung up on the fence, but the next 172, they're coming through it, but no, it's pretty safe there when you're camped out inside the bison corral. But yeah, they came down pretty close, because everybody in the campground could hear them the next night. Yeah. And I did hear a very strange sound that night that wasn't bison.
Well, maybe it was a Bigfoot.
It was. Yeah, it was Mike's Bigfoot. I went to bed and I could hear the strange squeaking sound coming from the main campground. I was way over in the corner in the overflow, which is like, I have a photo. I mean, I should send it. I'm like half a kilometer away, or maybe the better part of a kilometer away from where the campground is. Driving distance, really. You can walk there, but I mean, it's a good walk. And so I could hear this weird squeaking sound, kind of right at a Christmas Vacation almost. Like, man, what is, like, I was thinking, because there's a gate, and I'm actually behind 2 gates And I was like, man, did somebody leave one of the gates open and did a bison like wander through? And just as I was thinking this, I heard this giant crash. I'm like, whoa, what was that? And then nothing. And I was like, all right, well, I was thinking, oh, it must have been like some sort of other animal. There's a badger around. I thought maybe a badger got on one of the garbage cans and just knocked it over or something, even though that would be impossible. And when I told Mike the next day, he said, yeah, that was him. He was something stuck on his trailer and he knocked over his stove when he was trying to fix it. I'm like, wow, I bet you I was the other one that heard that.
Yeah, probably startled a few people.
Yeah, you've got a shout out too, I hear.
Yeah. So another listener, Christian, had asked for a mailing address to send kind of I guess an art project that was inspired by some of the stuff that we talked about on the podcast. So I did receive that, and it was super, super cool. There's multiple components to this. So one of them is it's like a light gel sort of sample pack that I think like lighting professionals use. And
oh yeah,
there's got to be like at least 50 swatches is my guess of like color transparencies. And they're like on a string. And Christian said like he uses them just to quickly put them like between his eyeball and the eyepiece, just to, add a different color filter, to see how things change. And so that was part of it. Again, super cool. And then probably about a 6-inch by 6-inch or maybe 7 or 8-inch by, squared piece of amber, I guess like light lens. It's I think it's probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. So it's kind of neat. You could cut out little chunks to put over top of flashlights or whatever to change it to an amber color.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of neat. There's a set of solar stamps. So in the US, their postal service released a series of, I think there's about 12 stamps of the sun, like different images of the sun, but it's like it was a metallic printing. So, depending how the light catches it, it really kind of, makes the image pop, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. So anyway, big thanks to Christian.
That is cool.
A real neat thing, and I'll show it to you, Chris, next time we get together. I think you'll really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really love looking at that kind of stuff, and just whatever people have on the go. I know one of the local observers, Risa, and she's a professor of fine arts, and I remember she was doing all this sketching, and it was one of those things that really kicked me off to learn how to sketch. Is that, although she is like an artist, like in all true respects of the word, and I'm definitely just somebody who enjoys doing astronomical sketching, just watching people's process and the different art that they create. I find just so fascinating and inspiring. Just I think because I'm really not gifted in those ways, but I truly do enjoy. I almost enjoy watching that kind of stuff and seeing what people are just creating, just like regular folks that you can have a conversation with. Just really cool just to see what people are up to. So yeah, if people do have other art projects on the go, boy, I think we'd love to see them too.
Yeah, for sure. Even if it, send us photographs, and we would love to see it. It's just neat to see how our hobby can transition into other hobbies. And, there's like when I look at the stars, even naked eye through a telescope, it feels artistic. Like it feels like, I guess maybe because it inspires to a certain level and, makes you react in a different way, sensory wise. Anyway, I'm sort of rambling here.
That's okay. I was thinking, I was reading something on art recently, and I do enjoy reading a bit on art. And somebody was using like a Kodak, I think it's called a Kodak mask or something like that, and about how I think it was like 150 or 200 years ago, people would use these to look at landscapes, to give them like more of a, I guess like the feel of a painting or something like that. And I was thinking now, just what you're talking and what you said, I was thinking, I wonder if that could be used on the Milky Way from a dark site. That could be very cool. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I think it's a Kodak mask. Anyway, people can look that up. That would be an interesting experiment to do from the grasslands sometime. Maybe I could do one of my sketches using something like that and present it to Shane and have him weep out of despair for my poor art skills.
Well, let's give it a try.
Yeah, I don't know when is this podcast coming out, because we are. I don't know that we're going to get another one out in the next 5 days anyway.
Well, I think we're due to release one actually today, so I might send it out tonight, or if you get it to me tomorrow or whenever, I'll probably just
I'll get it to you before I go. Yeah, but I think that we may miss one here. I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to get an episode behind maybe. So I would say our apologies for that, but no, I mean, Shane's going on vacation and I'm going observing for hopefully this will be my 6th or 7th night here over the past 10 or 11 days. So yeah, I'm pretty happy to be going out and doing all this observing, and you're just kind of getting the highlights here. I haven't done any sketching, but I'm hoping that once I get back and we start getting that site sort of, you got to get out there and kind of get a feel for it, and then we can get out and maybe start setting it up this autumn, and start observing there. And yeah, it's super dark locally. There's some lights in the distance, but it's better than anything else I've seen within about a 45 or 50 minute drive. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, would love to check it out.
All right. Well, Shane, do you have anything else to add?
That is all, sir.
All right. Let me say goodbye, and let me say thanks to everybody for listening.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.